Hey guys, welcome to NewsWave. Now, before we get started here, make sure you check out our Reddit at reddit.com/r/SpawnWave. If you want to talk about anything else talked about here in detail. With that, guys, let's get started. A real quick, an update from a developing story yesterday, and that is, of course, about Assassin's Creed Origins. Well, we had a screenshot completely leaked for some odd reason. I'm not sure if there's somebody on the inside or they know someone on the inside and they're getting information from them. It was weird on the Reddit. They said they wanted to have like a story on Kotaku or something from leaking the information. I guess they didn't, so they want to go a step further and give us a screenshot, which makes sense, you know, because at least that's something and it shows that they aren't like lying and making stuff up. And here's the screenshot. It's taken directly from what I could tell from like a flat screen TV. And it pretty much highlights what they were saying, where naval combat will be back. You will be able to, it looks like, get a boat and sail around. So that's good. I think a lot of people at least enjoyed that aspect, whereas other people for some reason saw it more as Assassin's Creed trying to be just a pirate video game and not really as much like the cold-blooded or stealthy assassins. Instead, you are sailing around in the ocean. I actually like the naval combat. I think this is cool. It's kind of funny because at the top it says eliminating the crocodile or assassinating the crocodile. I assume that is a code name or a nickname for someone. I don't think you're actually punting crocodiles, but either way, the visuals from what we can tell so far look pretty clean. It looks good so far. I want to see it in motion though, and if all rumors are true, this may be coming to the Switch. I'll be curious to see how that operates there as well, if it really does make it over, like so many people in the past few months have said with rumors that this game apparently is going to show up there. Either way, I'll let you guys know if any video breaks, like where it's like actual gameplay footage. I don't think that's going to happen, although who knows? I mean, we had the Battlefront 2 trailer leak ahead of time. According to everyone though, this will be at E3 in full force, as we would expect. So worst case scenario, wait a little over a month and we get to see it straight up from Ubisoft. And if you're excited about Minecraft on the Nintendo Switch, which should be releasing in the next day or so, you know what? There's some stuff to still be excited about because it looks like it will have great frame rate across the board. And this is from Ars Technica, where they did get hands-on time with the game when playing on the Switch. Now, they did manage to push the system heavily by doing up to 4-player split-screen action, which is pretty crazy from what they were saying. It worked fine. Resolution and frame rate were great, but they did want to give kind of one warning in saying that you can't play it with just a single Joy-Con. You need 2 analog sticks. And now that I think about it, I don't really know how you would play it without 2 analog sticks, since one technically controls the looking motion. I don't really know how you would look around and move with a single joystick. So that at least makes sense. You know, that doesn't really bother me much because mostly you're going to play with 2 people on there anyway. So a couple pairs of Joy-Cons, a Pro Controller, which most people who have the Switch, I would hope, are at least starting to invest in because it is worth it. And you know what? I don't think it's that big of a deal. Realistically, the only times you give people single Joy-Cons is when you sit down in tabletop mode and you're just there with just your Switch. So you'd be playing probably on like, you know, a little tabletop mode anyway with split screen, which probably is not as enjoyable. So it doesn't really bother me any. There may be people out there who may not like this because the whole point of the Switch is that you can take a single Joy-Con and play a majority of the games, at this point, almost all of them, with just that one Joy-Con. It does look like it will run rock solid at the suggested frame rate that they're shooting for, and the resolution apparently it does not seem affected. It does not seem to be dynamic. So it runs great otherwise on there. And Nintendo finally made the one big update that I've been asking for forever on the eShop on the Switch. Something that's just been driving me insane. They finally fixed. You can now save your credit card information or debit card information on the shop. You don't have to enter it every single time you want to buy something. And man, that was so frustrating. I know it's not the biggest deal in the world to a lot of people, but having to enter your information every single time when it should be simple enough to save your information to your account and just hit a button to buy, that should be pretty much there right away. You know, it took them a little while to get it done. It is now done. You can save your information, tie it to your account, and when you go buy a game, you just go in there, you click buy, it'll verify with a password if you want, which I obviously suggest you set up some sort of PIN or something just to punch in real quick, and then you're off, you buy it, it's done. So thank you for getting that done. There's no update to download because that operates through the built-in web browser that is updated basically on their end, so it's already live. You don't have to download an update. As soon as you go to buy something, you should have the option to save your credit card information and not have to enter it again unless it expires. And EA had their big conference call with all their investors where they go over kind of the idea going forward for this fiscal year. They kind of talk about what happened last fiscal year and how they did. Overall, they did pretty good, and it looks like now they are really interested in the Nintendo Switch. This is from EA's CEO, Andrew Wilson. They apparently are now very bullish on the Switch, which means they really want to push stuff on there as much as they can really at this point. And they said they're excited to bring a new ecosystem, being the Switch's game system, into the fold. So they're talking about adding more games to the library other than just the upcoming FIFA 18. Like I said before, I would be shocked if, say, Madden was not there. That makes all the sense in the world. In fact, I have a feeling that's what they're alluding to right this second, is mostly Madden and any other sports games and stuff they can bring over. That seems like a no-brainer. Madden will sell on the Switch just like it'll probably sell on most other consoles. The Switch does, again, have that benefit of being portable, so it gives it at least a dynamic that, say, the Xbox One and the PS4 don't have. I don't really know if they're building other games for the system. I still don't know how sold the EA is on the Switch despite the sales coming in, saying that the Switch is selling well. Then maybe they'll wait another few months just to double-check before they bring over something like a Battlefield and spend all of the resources and time to port that and develop for the system. But right now it does look like EA is at least leaning in favor of developing for the Switch. Like I said, Madden, I definitely expect that, and any other games they can maybe port over with relative ease. I know a lot of people are really hoping for Battlefront 2. I don't know if they even have that in mind right now, but who knows? This could be something that's alluding to that as well. We'll know more, I think, at E3, because that's probably where EA will have their big conference and put up all the little graphics for PS4 and Xbox One and Switch after a game debuts on their stage. The real thing that made me kind of sad is apparently their new IP that they've been kind of talking about, I guess, I don't want to say mysteriously, but they've been alluding to it a lot. There apparently is a new IP that's coming out that's in the same kind of vein as, say, a Division or Destiny, for example. It's, in their case, they call it a live game, which is a weird way to say it on an investor call, I guess because they know that they're talking to mostly older people that they have to kind of break down into those terms. It's going to be a game that's always online, and it sounds like it's going to be something that would compete, like I said, with The Division and Destiny, for example. And it was supposed to be this big online shooter type game, and apparently it's being pushed till next fiscal year, which would put it sometime after March 2018. This seems kind of like a pretty big blow because a lot of people were hoping it would be out this holiday. I think a lot of people are just getting restless trying to figure out what this game is. Maybe just because it's getting pushed that long doesn't mean we won't hear about it before then. I can still see us hearing about it maybe at E3 with some rumblings or something saying, hey, this is what it's called, this is what it's going to be. A beta will be out maybe in January or something. We'll see you then. I could definitely see that. As to what it is, hard to say. It just sounds like it's going to be an online shooter of some kind that is an always online game that probably has microtransactions because, let's face it, guys, that seems to be the way of the future. Anything you can keep charging for, keep releasing expansions for. Destiny was very, very successful this way. The Division apparently has been as well. So expect that sometime next year after March 2018. Just expect to hear about it, I'd say, at E3. Here we go, guys. The big news of the day is Nvidia. They also released their financials and had a smaller conference call and everything where they showed everything off, talked about stuff like they do most quarters. You usually release financials, explain anything that investors need to know about what you're releasing to them, why numbers were certain ways. Nvidia comes out and they cashed in on the Switch big time. So real quick, we know obviously Nvidia's using the Tegra processor for tablets, stuff like that. Nothing that really took off. Obviously the Shield device came out and did okay. They've been trying to push it more now, but it looks like it wasn't until this Tegra processor goes into the Switch that Nvidia can put out a massive jump in their Tegra business. In fact, they reported a gain of 108% over the previous quarter in their Tegra business, and that brings in a total of $332 million. So yes, the Switch has done well for Nintendo. It's done very well for Nvidia as well. Now don't get me wrong, Nvidia's big strength is still their graphics department for desktops and everything, but they will still continue this Tegra stuff. Now, the desktops brought in those big video cards you put in with power plugs everywhere and everything, 1080s. That brought in $1.5 billion, so of course that makes up a good bit of their business, but you can't really write off this massive leap at $332 million because, one, they're going to keep using the X1s, obviously, for a while, which is not normal in the tech world. Like, they wouldn't still be selling 2-3-year-old video cards now at the rate that Nvidia will continue to sell their X1s 3 years from now with the Switch. It's just not going to happen. They're not going to be selling 950s as well as they were at launch 3 years later. It's just not going to happen. But the X1 will continue to be relevant inside the Switch. I'm sure they will eventually make some tweaks, maybe even just drop in an X2 to make things easier, or if they do a revamp of the system, which I'm sure at this point, with the kind of money that Nvidia just brought in on these Tegras, much easier to explain to investors like these people who don't understand video cards or Tegras or SoCs why you're going to spend money on a division now that it is making you money. And this tells me at this point that Nvidia is probably all in with this SoC with Nintendo because it's now making them money. So what are they going to do? They're going to heavily, I believe at this point, heavily start to R&D and get these SoCs better. I mean, I could see Tegras having a good long lineup going forward of newer, better Tegras coming out consistently. The X2, the X3, the X4, they'll probably, I assume, continue with that naming type, but now that the money is there, expect heavy investments in the R&D to make these things better. And I do think Nvidia kind of sees the future where you can only shrink these desktop cards so much, but ARM and Tegra are just going to continue to get better and better using less power. So eventually they will start to use more power, and maybe you get to a point where the desktop video cards and the Tegras are kind of passing each other almost, and it gets to a point where maybe Tegra is the future. It uses less power, which means if you put more power through it, they can probably get more out of it if they need to, but it'd still be considerably less than the desktop video cards. So this is very good news. And that's it for Newswave today, guys. Make sure you comment, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Let me know if you think about anything we talked about today, whether it is that big Nvidia quarter that they just had where hats off to the Switch for helping them get there. I mean, if 2.74 million have already been shipped out and probably sold in the first, month, that's going to do it, because we still don't know this next month, April, which, by the way, we will get a little more knowledge on here probably today with NPD coming out, hopefully today, with numbers for the US. And we already have Japan's Media Create, and then we'll have to wait a little further to get the other regions and everything as we go forward. So expect numbers like those to come out. Either way, let me know what you think about Nvidia and Nintendo. Definitely doing well with the Switch. Also, let me know what you think about Assassin's Creed Origins. Do you like the screenshot, and are you happy that Naval Combat is coming back? And do you think EA's intentions are true? Do you think they're actually bringing games to the Switch? Or are they just saying some stuff to their investors saying, we'll get to it eventually, don't worry. I think Mad's at least coming over, guys. That's it for now. I will see you next time.